The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers are headed to Omaha. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Another bonus episode, of course, with Coastal Carolina's victory over Auburn yesterday. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, we will go over Jacob Morrison pitching like an ace, and probably should give a little bit of love to Hayden Peterson as well. And then, we'll go over matchups, UNC or Arizona. That's who Coastal Carolina will play. And of course, as Coastal Carolina Chanticleer fans know, they beat Arizona in 2016 to win the College World Series. All right. This was quite the ball game, and a pitcher's duel it was. Jacob Morrison pitching on regular rest. The Auburn pitcher, not so much. Andres Alvarez. We're going to get this name right. Andreas Alvarez. He actually pitched on Sunday to pitch Auburn into the college, into the Super Regional. So Auburn swept, just like Coastal Carolina did. But it almost felt like they were saving him. He wasn't their regular weekend starter. They didn't pitch Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But he pitched very well, and they got plenty of run support for him. I think it was an 11-1 victory over NC State. All right. And he pitched pretty well. It kind of felt like, and maybe we'll find out at a press conference, the idea was to go around the lineup a couple of times, because that's all that he did. He didn't get into serious trouble, made only 55 pitches, went 4 innings. I think he gave up a base hit or a walk to begin the 5th. He gave up a base hit to Wells Sykes to begin the 5th inning. There was somebody, I think it was Dave Anderson. All right. Dave Anderson, former Dodger third baseman, who's basically known for being the hitter that Kirk Gibson pinch hit for in the 88 World Series. That's what Dave Anderson's known for. Dave Anderson was the manager of the 98 Jacksonville Suns, who I was the broadcaster for. And it should be known in minor league baseball, you're going to develop. That's the key thing. All right. For the most part, though, and when the game time comes, you're trying to win, obviously. What you're not going to do, though, is send a guy out. At least his theory was, I'm not sending the guy out to see if he can get one guy out. All right. Now, it could be a matchup situation where you got a righty. We're going to try to get the righty out, and then you're coming out type of deal. That could be a different situation. But for the most part, you would never, he always told me, I'm not sending the guy out till a guy reaches. He doesn't buy that stuff. So maybe that's what this is what happened with Butch. A guy reached, or maybe it was his last guy. I don't know, because he was pitching okay until that time. Now I was actually working in between him pitching well, and all of a sudden the bases were loaded. That's when Fisher came into the ball game and got himself in a little bit of trouble. Cade Fisher. All right. And then got himself out of a little bit of trouble. Caden Bodine then singled. All right. And then a bunt by Alexander loaded the bases. Barthol struck out. Mitchell popped out to first, and Thorndike struck out. That's a big spot. It's a 1-0 ball game. We're halfway through the game, bottom of the 5th, and 1 or 2 swings of the bat, and the season's over. It's we are it's a ridiculous rule, but in this case, Coastal Carolina is the home team. So they're hitting in the bottom half of the fifth inning. So, yes, we are more than halfway through the ball game. And a couple of big base hits, and all of a sudden it's 2, 3, 4, 1. And Auburn gets out of it. Okay. Jacob Morrison is rolling along. Got into trouble in the sixth, but got another strikeout. Auburn leaves 2 on base. It's 1-0. We go to the bottom of the sixth. Again, 2 men get on base, and Fisher gets out of it. All right. We go to the seventh, and it's sort of caved in. Not sort of. It did. It caved in on Auburn. All right. Started off with Alexander doubling. This is what I did find interesting, is that last night when I mentioned Coastal Carolina is going to bunt in all kinds of situations, they weren't bunting in an obvious situation. And this isn't even just to get him into scoring position. He's already in scoring position. This is to get him to third base with less than 2 outs. Now Barthel sends a deep fly ball to center, does the job. But in a case where I thought he'd be bunting, didn't even square to bunt. Didn't even look like it was bunting. Didn't even show bunt, nothing. The thing is with Barthel, he can lay down a bunt and beat it out for a hit. That's the thing with Barthel. But didn't even show that at all. That was not even a possibility. So much what I know. But they do move Mitchell over. Alexander over, and he comes home, I believe, on a Walker Mitchell RBI single. All right. Then Thorndike flies out to left. Pato singles. All right. And this is where the defense goes nuts. Ty Dooley reaches on they said a muffed throw by the first baseman. Reached on a muffed throw by first baseman. Advanced to second, advanced to third on the error. A muffed throw, I guess. It says E3. Okay. Because it was an E3. But I thought this was going to be one of those homer SEC calls that were going to go against the Sun Belt. Seen it way too many times. All right. Because he was very close to the line. You could almost make an argument that he was there, except the first baseman dropped the baseball, right? The ball beat Dooley to the bag. If the first baseman catches the ball, you don't have to worry about it. We're not even replaying it. Now, I don't blame Butch Thompson for challenging it. You got to do something in that case. Maybe we get the call. Right? I don't certainly blame Butch for trying to do that. You got to throw the Hail Mary while you got the Hail Mary, right? You don't have the challenge. Can't take the challenges home with you. So I don't blame Butch for trying to do that. And I thought it was going to go against Coastal. Good job by the umps to not allow it to happen, because the ball didn't hit Dooley, and the first baseman should have caught the baseball. He should have caught it. I don't know why I said muffed throw. It was a muff by the first baseman. Okay. And that makes it 2-1. And then we get to the bases are loaded. Then the unraveling happens. Cam Tilley, the Friday night starter, comes in, 4 pitches, walks a man, bases loaded. Next pitcher comes in, hits a man, makes it 3-1. All right. And this is where, tough to pick on Caden Bodine, but equal opportunity. 2 relievers have come in and not thrown a strike. I believe the first pitch to Caden was a strike. You can't be swinging at that pitch. Cam Tilley didn't throw a strike. The next reliever comes in. He hits a man. I guess Caden's thought process, can't blame him. This is going to be the best pitch I'm going to get, because he's absolutely going to do his absolute best to throw a strike. Let him throw it. Let him throw a strike. All right. In this case, it probably was a strike. It didn't look like he swung at a bad pitch, but this is one of my pet peeves. You just saw not 1, but 2 pitchers throw 5 pitches. Not one of them was a strike. All right. One of them was a wild pitch to the backstop that bounced back to the catcher, and the other one barely reached home plate. If it did, hit a batter. At least let him throw one pitch that's a strike. And so what if you're down 0-1? All right. Anyways, Caden flies out, and it's a 3-1 ball game. And Hayden Peterson continues to do the job. Walker Mitchell with an extra insurance run in the bottom half of the eighth. Base runner reaches, and I guess it is poetry, certainly not ironic or a coincidence, but poetic, I guess is the word I was looking for, that it is Ike Irish to make the final out as Auburn's best player. And Omaha does the big dog pile on the mound in Coastal Carolina does the big dog pile on the mound in Auburn. So good for them. We mentioned it. It certainly wasn't for clicks, but the more I looked at it, the more I thought Coastal Carolina was the better team. They had a more balanced lineup, not necessarily the better lineup, the more balanced lineup. Certainly stole more bases, although I'm not sure they stole that many bases at all in 2 ball games. And they had the better pitching. And that's what we're going to get to next, because Jacob Morrison pitched like an ace. We'll talk about that after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You would have won a little money, as we mentioned it. I think Coastal Carolina was like a plus 126 when the series started, and Auburn like a minus 160. They were both basically like minus 115 to win the ball game on Saturday. So you would have won a little bit of money if you did beat or bet on Coastal to win the series. New to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Okay. Jacob Morrison pitched like an ace. And I understand good versus good. Happens all the time. And it doesn't matter what level it is. Happens in Little League, high school, college. It obviously happens in the big leagues. All right? Happens all the time in the big leagues. But we did not see the Sunbelt Aces pitch particularly well last week. And I said so. All right. Now, I didn't say spoken word, although I think I did agree in the end. But I didn't say that J.B. Middleton pitched poorly, giving up 5 runs in 7 innings. And I didn't say the same thing for Jacob Morrison, who gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. But neither of those outings, they pitched particularly well. And I don't know if you have to have a microphone in front of them or not, but neither one of them would say they pitched particularly well. All right. I'm sorry. You can tell me someone gave up two base hits in 5 innings. It doesn't matter if they're home runs. Sorry. Now, if you want to tell me that J.B. Middleton gave up 2 hits in 9 innings and they're both home runs, okay, that's different. If they're both, if you lose 2 or 3-0, that's better than 5 and 7. All right. Jacob Morrison did one better, not only than JB, but than Jacob did, right? And here's the difference. Jacob was pitching at home last week against, no, I got to go back and look. I was going to say East Carolina, but it wasn't. It was East Carolina. But But he was, either way, he was pitching at home last week when, it was East Carolina. He was pitching at home. I was right. And was actually ahead 1-0. And then fell behind 2-1. Coastal Carolina came up with 2 runs in the 5th. And East Carolina scored 2 more runs in the bottom of the 5th. And then we had 6 in the 7th, 5 in the 5th, and 3 in the 9th, right? The runs, that's when they won 18-7. But he didn't pitch that well. He didn't pitch like an ace. All right. Saturday, he did. He gave up 1 run. Wasn't necessarily locked down, per se, right? He still had a bunch of base runners. Walked Irish on a 3-2 pitch, but struck out McMurray. Had a bunch of pitches, gave up over 20 pitches in the first inning against Auburn, but didn't give up anything. Gave up the 1 run in the second. In the third inning, gave up a 2-out single to Irish. Nothing doing there. In the 4th inning, a 2-out single. In the 5th inning, he had 2 out and 1 on. Gave up a pop-up to Irish, who swung on the first pitch. Ouch. And struck out McMurray to end the inning. And then in the 6th, and then his final inning, he had 2 on and a 1 out. Got a fly out to right, and he struck out Fabian swinging to end the threat, and that was the end. How many pitches did he throw? Because again, and I actually had someone comment on this, Morrison threw 106 pitches. So both him and Flukey threw a bunch of pitches, and I was just in Charleston. I know that's not the same as Conway. It was absolutely perfect. It was gorgeous. The heat has not gotten to South Carolina. I'm sure it gets nice and warm in Conway and in Charleston. Obviously, it was incredibly hot and humid in Auburn, both Friday and Saturday. So what might feel like, that's why I was wondering if Flukey was coming back after his 95 pitches, if the game continued, would they have tried to squeeze out 1 more inning, because he was getting it more economical as he was going. But Morrison pitched brilliantly. That's what you want to see. Not, I gave my team a chance to win type of deal. I led my team to victory type of deal, right? I wasn't waiting for the clutch, base hit from, the 9-hole hitter to make it 6-5, because I gave the lead back and forth like I had done the last week. I gave up 1 run, and that was it. And then, again, it gets overshadowed because he's Jacob Morrison, but Hayden Peterson was outstanding. TJ Sullivan of Sunbelt Syndicate said he's had his moments. I'm like, I can't have a guy who's had his moments have the series rest on him. And it did. And he had a couple of moments, right? He's got Bud Terrell up at the plate. And if that guy reaches and Irish is the game-tying base hit or game-tying guy at the plate, who knows what happens. But he was outstanding. 3 innings, couple of base hits, a walk, and 5 punch-outs. He was fantastic in relief. He actually got the win. He gets the win. And although the starting pitching today for Auburn, Alvarez, was very good, the pitching was the difference in this series. And that was the major difference between these two teams that we said the advantage was coming in. And Coastal had it. And they used that to their advantage. Auburn has a awesome lineup, and they scored 1 run. 1 at home in a super regional against Jacob Morrison and Hayden Peterson. So the pitching was fantastic. And the pitching, along with Walker Mitchell and some others, led them to victory. All right, so let's check in on that North Carolina-Arizona matchup. On paper, I guess one team appears to be much better than the other, but boy, you get to Omaha. Can you really be that picky on who you're going to play? Not to me, but let's check it out. We'll do that after I thank you. All right. Again, we're going to have a great week. We did a second short. Usually you do a second short on YouTube and it goes nowhere, but in this case, they got to the World Series, so people were picking up on it. Again, we're going to have maybe close to a record 7 days or 8 days, as the case may be. Really appreciate it. We're going to have record audio as well. Thank you so much. We get to do this for another week at least. Can you imagine if Coastal Carolina is playing for this championship, which would, we get a whole 10 days of this. So we get another week at least. They will play on Friday or Saturday. I mean, Coastal Carolina, we'll get into this. Coastal Carolina is the only team that has advanced so far. So we'll see. And Carolina and Arizona are playing on Sunday. So Coastal Carolina is going to have an advantage one way or the other. They'll get an extra day of rest. But want to appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. If you are new to this, I know Coastal Carolina's got some of their pods as well, but we do this every day. And obviously it's been concentrating on, well, mostly Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss and Troy for about the last month or so. All right. We'll squeeze some other things in there. We did have a Tim Beck episode. If you want to go back and watch that, Coastal Carolina fans, you can go check that up on YouTube, on Apple, and on Spotify. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. It is a big, big help. Thank you so much. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Again, Carolina and Arizona playing the if necessary ball game. Is it technically the if necessary ball game? I guess it's just the rubber match of the 3-game series. And give credit to Arizona. They got hammered 18-2 on Friday, and they come back and win Saturday 10-8. All right. Carolina has, I guess, one of the better stories in all of college baseball. Jake Knapp is one of the best pitchers in the game. He's a grad student, 6'5", 270. And he looks all of it. You know how I know he's one of the best stories in all of baseball? As a junior, 5-4 with a 5-4 with a 5.04 ERA. Not that impressive. Did not play in 2024. Comes back this year and is outstanding. He leads Carolina and is one of the best pitchers in the nation, period. He is 14-0 with a 2.02 ERA. His whip is 0.86. Not necessarily a strikeout pitcher, which may throw people off when you're 6'5", 270. Not that he doesn't strike people out. He's got 88 strikeouts and 102 in the third innings pitch, but not quite a strikeout per inning. Doesn't walk many guys. 16 walks. So about 5-1 ratio. That's outstanding. Overall, though, they have a fantastic rotation pitching, much better than everybody else in the ACC, Carolina, and not by a little bit either. North Carolina's ERA is 3.37. Virginia, number 2, 4.68. So that's a run and a third, better than everybody else. Their lineup is middle of the road. 16 teams in the ACC play baseball. North Carolina is 7th with a 291 batting average. They do have a little bit of pop, 84 home runs. Remember, I guess Coastal has, they have 62, 64 home runs. And stolen bases, Carolina will run. They got 93 stolen bases in 107 attempts. Coastal Carolina's got a little bit more than that. Let's see how many runs they got, because they got about the same amount of runs. Coastal Carolina's got 471 runs ish. North Carolina's got 468. So those teams are basically even offensively. Carolina with a little bit more pop. All right. Carolina, though, ranked 5th in the RPI. Ironically, as of right now, they are behind Auburn. Vanderbilt is 1. This is Warren Nolan's rankings. Vanderbilt's 1, Arkansas is 2 for the time being. Coastal Carolina is 3, Auburn 4, North Carolina 5. All right. Arizona, way down on the list, they're 24. So in terms of the rankings, there's a big difference between Carolina and Arizona. But again, if Arizona, after getting beat 18-2, comes back and beats North Carolina, I'm not sure there's a big difference there. However, pitching-wise, there is. I guess his name is Smith Bailey. He seems to be the ace. He's got like a 4 ERA, 3.97. He's got 16 starts, but he's only 3-3. And he's only got 77 innings pitched, so that's odd. And opponents are hitting 268 against him. 80 hits and 77 innings pitched, 72 strikeouts. So that's almost a strikeout inning. Although he does walk 27. So that's almost about 3-1. All right. Owen, then you got Owen Kramkowski, who's got a 5.48 ERA. And then some other guys, Conlon McKinley with a 3.98 ERA. Those are basically your 3 starters. All right. Just looking at it here. And let's see if we can find the Big 12 statistics. Arizona, middle of the pack in hitting. With a 287 batting average, 6th, and then 6th in pitching with a 4.84. All right. So I guess if you're Coastal, you'd much rather play Arizona, but one of those careful what you wish for deals. Obviously, Arizona doesn't have Jake Knapp, is what you would say. All right. But once you get to Omaha, everyone, you either are very good or you're very hot. And apparently Arizona won the Big 12. They won the regional. And if they come from behind to win the super regional after getting beaten 18-2, they're hot. Careful what you wish for. But obviously there would be a big difference between facing not Jake Knapp and facing Jake Knapp. Although once we get into it, we'll find out if it is Carolina, what day he pitched, and when they're playing. I presume Jacob Morrison is going to pitch no earlier than Saturday, just like he did this past week. Now, I don't know if they're going to play on Friday. The World Series starts on Friday, so we'll see who plays on Friday. That very well could be Coastal Carolina, all right? And so if it is Arizona or Carolina, they're going to be short a day. Although that's regular baseball, right? That's regular college baseball where you finish up on a Sunday and you play on a Friday. Coastal gets an extra day off, but Jacob pitched on Saturday. So we'll see who's lined up with those other teams, and we'll wait to find out who they're playing. All right. But we will have a full slate. We'll try to find out some other hosts, maybe some media members to come on. I'm going to guess I'm not going to get Kevin Schnall. They are superstitious, and I don't blame them. I'll ask. I am off on Monday, so we'll see if they want to hop on Monday evening, if that's the case. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. Very excited. We get another full week of this. Remember, it's still double elimination. When you have, it'll be interesting to find out what happens after, because when you have Cameron Flukey, Jacob Morrison, and Riley Eikoff, you got as good as it gets. LSU may have a couple of pitchers, but I don't know if they've got 3. And they don't have much more than that after that. They don't have much more after their 2 guys. Although they did get a really good performance out of the pen just to get them to the Super Regional. I will say that. And they may have the number 1 pitcher in the country in Cade Anderson. All right. But there's not a lot of teams that have what Coastal has. So Coastal will have as good a shot as any to win this thing. I believe that. I really do. If they play the way they can play and pitch the way they pitch. Now, if the other team's better, the other team's better. I get it. Or if they make too many mistakes, they make too many mistakes. I get it. But if they play the way they can play, they're going to have a shot. They're going to have a shot. And I guess the announcers today were saying if Auburn's thinking about winning, they probably need more than one run because that's not going to hold up, especially when you were getting into Auburn's bullpen. All right. And that's what happened. And the pitching advantage prevailed. So, all right. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We will have a full slate of shows throughout the week. We'll come back Monday and talk about who Coastal Carolina will be playing. We'll know by then. I'm deciding whether or not to completely dissect Rage and Review's ridiculous column on the lack of chemistry that Texas Tech had that got them all the way to the championship bowl game in softball. By the way, the same girls who played for a national championship in Texas Tech, along with Najee Canaday, those same girls who played for the Cajuns, and Sam Landry, who went to Omaha, or who went to Oklahoma, rather, lost a home regional for the Cajuns. Just saying. Maybe we should back off on the whole chemistry thing. Maybe pipe down just a bit. Anyways, that's a different podcast. I actually was working really well with my OCD today. Couldn't quite keep my trap shut. Thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to Coastal Carolina. We'll be talking about them all week long. Of course, we got the house settlement thing. I'm going to have to get somebody to tell me what that all means for the group of five things. Maybe me and the group of five guys will join forces to figure out what that means for the G5. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.